We had done an inspection for a woman that reached out to us from the Cincinnati area, so northern Kentucky, southern Ohio, and she had had two remediators come through and do remediation on the home, and it was due to different leaks that were happening around the house, primarily concerned with the kitchen. Dishwasher and the plumbing and stuff behind the sink had leaked and caused an issue in a downstairs bathroom, and they had two remediators come through, and both of the companies had failed third-party post-testing, and the clients were just, again, tearing their hair out trying to figure out what was going on. The wife and the children started to have some health concerns and started getting sick from the level of exposure, and they just could not figure out the most effective way to find all of the hidden issues in their home.
Scott here, and I'm here with Caleb Jones from Mold Dog Network, and these guys do mold inspections with a bit of a twist because they use dogs to find the mold. So Caleb, maybe first things first, why use dogs to find mold?
I actually come from the remediation industry, and whenever we were working with a lot of clients that were extremely sick or ill, and we were trying to figure out the most effective way to remediate a home, we invested tens and tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in tools for mold detection. And they were effective at their uses, air quality testing, swab testing, but you can only access and test what you can see. So whenever we were doing some research and we came across the idea of a mold-trained canine, a canine trained to find mold very similar to the style of a bomb or a drug dog, everything just clicked in our heads, and it was so phenomenal. So we continued to do, we reached out to companies that had experience interacting with these canines and stuff in the past, and then we actually went to see one for ourselves, and from that moment on, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, because whenever you spend tens of thousands of dollars and hours of inspection time and cutting and demoing into clients' walls on guesswork and extrapolations, and you just watch a beautifully smart and effective canine walk across the wall and sit down and say, hey, it's right here. It was just like, it was just so phenomenal. It blew me away, and I said, "This is how the industry needs to move forward to be effective." Because we've tried as a society in multiple industries to move away or beat the sense of smell of a canine, and we've been unable to do it. Nothing is as effective. It was demolition free. It was the same day results. It was extremely simple. We were able to give the clients that affirmation that they needed, that they do have a hidden problem within the home. And we've been able over time to reveal a crazy amount of mold-related issues that would have remained hidden and continued to make the family sick if our canines and stuff weren't involved in the project. So it's been very, very rewarding so far.
Yeah, and I know you've literally just been doing an inspection like that where someone's had remediators out and they've still got a mold problem in their home and they're just pulling their hair out. Where is the mold? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, we had done an inspection for a woman that reached out to us from the Cincinnati area, so northern Kentucky, southern Ohio, and she had had two remediators come through and do remediation on the home, and it was due to different leaks that were happening around the house, primarily concerned with the kitchen. Dishwasher and the plumbing and stuff behind the sink had leaked and caused an issue in a downstairs bathroom, and they had two remediators come through, and both of the companies had failed third-party post-testing, and the clients were just, again, tearing their hair out trying to figure out what was going on. The wife and the children started to have some health concerns and started getting sick from the level of exposure, and they just could not figure out the most effective way to find all of the hidden issues in their home. And they found us through some online research, which was amazing. And they reached out to us and they explained the situation. And it was just a perfect use case for the canine. So we went up. My canine handler, Zach, he just does such a phenomenal job. We try to hire former military and police that have canine experience handling them. And it gives them a phenomenal opportunity to continue working with canines in a civilian capacity. He went up and did the inspection, was able to put stickers on all of the areas in the home that our canine, his canine Mika, had alerted on, and she did such a phenomenal job. And they're actually in the process, through our consultation, of working with a third remediation company to address all of these areas. And there were some that were just as simple. We were just talking previously about the area that was remediated previously, an extra 3 feet over from where they stopped the remediation, Mika had alerted, and the third remediation company started taking taking out that drywall and different things like that, and it was just black and molded all over it on the backside. And the clients just felt so much like confirmation. They felt comfortable. They felt like the job was being thoroughly done, and we've been able to consult with them on that. And that would have remained a hidden issue because they could have easily just rebuilt the property after the mitigation and not done their due diligence, and that would have continued to maintain a health hazard in the home. And we're just so happy to provide a service to help people get healthy, and to give them that same day results and stuff that they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, in that example, before hiring these two remediation companies, what do you wish this homeowner understood before they went down that route?
I think the understanding that mold is not always an easily visible issue, and that during the construction of the house and also over the time of the age of the home, their home was built in 1971. The opportunity for water intrusions and different things like that over the years is just, it continues to exponentially get higher as time goes on if regular maintenance and stuff is not done on the home. And I want people to understand that the health effects of mold and that remediation, going off of a remediation just in the areas that you can see, is not always the most thorough way to remediate the home. You need to make sure that you're taking care of every possible mold, intrusion or growing mold in the home, because if you fail to remediate all of those areas, it could continue to contaminate the home and you'll end up right back at square one and having to remediate again multiple times like these people did whenever the post testing and stuff has failed.
Awesome. I mean, obviously, that was a fairly unique case where someone's had two remediation companies out, and then they call you. Well, what's the most common reason people call you right now?
Sure. I think that it's a variety of situations, but some of the most common ones that I see are clients that are working with functional medicine doctors that might be a little bit more knowledgeable about the use of a canine in a situation, and they want to make sure that the home is fully remediated as possible. We have a lot of clients that come from functional medicine doctors that either refer us directly or tell the clients, hey, you should probably reach out and find a mold dog. So I think that as the industry and the community continues to become educated about the best way to find mold, that will just continue to improve and get better and better and better. And I really love when clients reach out to us first, is always the best case scenario, because then they can get it remediated correctly the first time, and they don't have to unnecessarily spend, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars trying to fix an issue that's very visible when there's a not visible issue like two wall joists down, and that will continue to remain hidden. So I think that if clients can continue to become educated and understand the power and the capacity of using canines to find mold hidden in their home, that a lot of clients can avoid, headaches and unnecessary spending and stuff in the future.
Okay. Can you kind of walk us through the process of a mold dog inspection? So Zach and Mika rock up at the front door. What happens next?
Sure. I think there is quite a bit of setup that we've done because this is so important. There are other mold canine, companies and stuff around the United States. Most of them work as owner operators, which has them splitting their focus between growing the business and educating clients and also doing the inspections themselves. We chose to have full-time handlers to make sure that the canine was properly trained. Every single day, there's 2 to 3 hours of training that goes into maintaining the canine's accuracy. So Zach is completely focused on that and doing the inspections. And then because we come from a remediation industry, we know a lot of the signs of how to point a client in getting the most accurate inspection as possible. Mika is trained to find mold. That is what she's trained to find. No matter where that mold is, that is her, main target and main focus. There are a lot of areas in the home that need to be addressed before that Zach and Mika go in to make sure that the client is getting an accurate representation of a hidden issue in the house. So we actually have clients move all of the furniture away from the wall cavities about 2 to 3 feet if possible. That way Zach and Mika and our other handlers have the room that they need to be able to inspect all of the hidden cavities and stuff in the home. Then we have the clients open all of their windows and clean out the sills, the actual tracks that the window sits in, which contains a lot of outdoor air, dust and debris, and natural mold spores that can grow from the outside. Because if Mika or one of our other canines alerts on that area, we want to know if it's an issue underneath the window and not attributing it to, a more normal level of mold growth and stuff that can happen, naturally. We need to make sure that there's not a hidden issue there. The same idea applies to to shower drains and sink drains, we always try to have clients sanitize those in some capacity before we come in, because I think that you hold a lot of power whenever you're using a mold canine. And if you're not thinking through some of these logistical things like, oh, she alerted on the shower, better tear your shower out,
Mm.
and you don't have evidence that there's other issues and stuff, you can do unnecessary removal. And so we try to make sure we eliminate as many of those factors as possible before the actual inspection occurs. And then that way, whenever the client knows exactly what's going on with her home, whenever she comes through. And then whenever the inspection starts, we have the clients and all animals in the property step out of the property to give Zach and Mika time to focus. We make sure to record all of the interactions and the inspection during the course of it, just to make sure that the client has those evidence. And then whenever Mika is along, we have a certain protocol on how we inspect rooms and in what order that we do things. Whenever Mika goes through and she alerts on a cavity or a cabinet or flooring or anything like that, Zach will pause and put a sticker, a safe sticker on that area, just to mark it and say, hey, she alerted here. And then we prepare a full photo documentation report to the client that they receive after the inspection. And then we will usually consult with them if they're working with a local remediation company. If they're interested, we will consult with them on the best mitigation practices and what we've seen to be effective in the past. And then also to talk them down, because sometimes it can be very intimidating to walk back into your house and see stickers everywhere. If the sticker, if there's a sticker on like both sides of one wall, then it's just one
Mm.
area really that needs to be addressed. So I think explaining things like that afterwards are really helpful, so that way they don't feel overwhelmed. And also explaining to clients that she is trained to find mold, but she's not trained to find an issue where there's not one.
Mm.
We have done houses where she's only alerted on a Roomba and a candle. And
Mm.
that client was able to go to bed at night after cleaning their Roomba and getting rid of that candle. So she was able to go to bed at night knowing that the house didn't have an issue. But we've also gone into very, very beautiful homes that don't have any visual issues. And she's alerted upwards of 18 or 20 different areas that need to be remediated because all of the problems were hidden in the house. I think that there's a definite range in what we do. And she's just continued to prove time and time again, along with our other canine teams, that it is the most effective way to find mold hidden in a home, no holds barred or anything like that. I mean, she's just so phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say to people who are maybe a bit skeptical? Because I've seen online people saying, "Oh, are mold dogs actually effective? Is this kind of a scam?"
I understand that there can be skepticism around newer development and especially in inspection-based industry. I always ask clients to try to compare it to the same level of skepticism as not applied to bomb or drug dogs. We really trust those canines with our lives, and our canines are trained to that same level of capacity. And we make sure to use trainers that are, have also trained dogs in that capacity for different law enforcement, operatives and organizations. And I think that training spills over to make sure that whenever a canine is alerted and or trained to find one specific source or one specific smell, that level of accuracy has to be maintained at all times to make sure that we are not like falsely alerting or anything like that. So I think that a lot of clients can be skeptic because it's just a newer concept. But my rebuttal to that is canines finding odor sources is not a new concept. We're
Yeah.
just applying it in a new industry. And mold canines have been in existence for upwards of 20 to 25 years. So it's really not like a newer fad type of development. I mean, they've effectively been used to help clients get healthy over a long period of time. We're just doing a lot to educate the population that this is a resource for you. The other level of skepticism that I run into is like the health related effects and stuff. They're like, oh, you're putting a canine in a dangerous environment and different things like that. And we try to make sure that clients feel comfortable whenever we're approaching that situation. And it really comes down to the anatomy of a searching canine. Whenever they're actually breathing in, it doesn't go all the way into their lungs. Whenever they're searching, it actually goes into an olfactory nerve that allows them to identify the source odor, and then they breathe straight out. And we limit the amount of exposure. We do constant vet checks, x-rays, our canines go to the vet like way more often than any other dog would, because we want to make sure that we are protecting, that asset. It's not a tool or something that you can just pack in the car or anything like that. I mean, it's a living, breathing partnership that she's helping us help people get healthy again. So we do a lot of things to make sure that we are protecting her, and we do a lot of education and stuff on the client to make sure, because most of the people that we work with are animal lovers, and they're happy to get help from a canine, but they want to make sure that she's staying healthy too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's obviously really, really important. Obviously, with mold inspections or more traditional mold inspections, you've got just a visual inspection, you've got air testing, you've got things like that. Um, where do those things fall short, especially when I guess when the mold's hidden?
Sure. I think I've done a lot of visual inspections in my day, and I'm the first to talk about my own limitations. And whenever I used to do visual inspections, I always explain to clients I am limited to what I can physically see and potentially smell in the environment, but my senses are nowhere near as strong as what the canines are. And I think that in a lot of situations, visual inspections are extremely limited, because if there is an issue going on in a wall cavity, sub demoing the entire house, you will not find it. But other than straight guesswork or dumb luck, which is not what you want a home remediated on, those standards. So I think a visual inspection is useful in cases where a portion of the home is unfinished, like a basement, crawl space, or an attic, where you can actually see the inner workings of a home. But it falls extremely short on drywall, plumbing in the walls, flooring that you can't see above, like from underneath. There's just so many limitations that. And then moving on to actual testing, swab testing and air quality testing, they have their own limitations, because you could be swabbing a surface and that you can only see like a portion of, and an inch to the right is an active mold growing colony. But if you don't swab that active mold growing colony, there's no guarantee that you're going to properly identify that mold is in that cavity. Whereas Mika and our other canines, whenever they go through, she's smelling that and will tell you that it's there almost immediately. I think that air quality testing is probably, out of all of them, my least favorite form of testing for mold, because the technology that we have now, it's such a risk and a gamble that you have to get the right air at the right time, for lack of a better term. And if the mold spores and stuff just don't happen to be present in the 5 minute capture or so that you do in that area, but they come in 7 minutes later, you'll come back and you'll get a negative air quality test, and the clients will be all hunky dory and very happy to move into the home. But that's a major situation. Now, I've been in a lot of situations where clients have gotten negative air quality test and had no positive results for mold, but there's still mold issues and stuff going on in the HVAC system, and the air capture didn't happen to catch those mold spores at the time that it was inspected.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of gives you an inkling of all the different things that you need to be considering when you think you got mold in your home and you think I need someone to come out and take a look. Is there anything else that people need to be weighing up when they're considering these things?
I think just the level of intentionality and severity that a client wants to invest in their property. I think some people are very motivated by a problem that I can see I can fix, and that's not always the case in mold remediation as an industry. And it's really the invisible problems and stuff that you need to be addressing. I would say if you can go and get the most thorough, the inspection part of the process is the most important part of mold remediation, in my opinion, because it has the highest chance of causing a failure later on down the road if something wasn't caught earlier. And working with canines with almost a 95% accuracy on any surface that she's smelling as she's going along, other testing applications and stuff will be lucky if 30 to 40% accurate. So you're leaving a huge gap whenever you're doing the inspection process. And I always tell clients that if you want the remediation to go well and you want to start working on getting healthy again, you need to address as many mold causing problems in the home as possible. And there is no better way than to use a canine to do those things.
I mean, it blows my mind that we haven't been able to catch up with technology, what nature has already created.
Sure.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so strange to me that with all these scientists with lots of pens in their top pocket, they haven't managed to work out a system that is as effective as a mold dog. But I guess maybe it's to do with how well you guys train your dogs compared to other companies. Would you say that's
We
a thing?
You do a lot of training, really, the initial training, and can be a 6-month or longer process on getting a canine up to par. So we're very specific about the breeds that we look into. We're very specific about the lineage of the canine that we choose to bring into the program, and then we send them through extensive obedience training to make sure that they can be around other people and not have off days, or they have a high working drive and they listen to their handler, and then it's on to the actual imprinting of the mold sources. So we send them off to a trainer, and they just spend almost 4 to 6 months on training for the types of mold species that are most important to catch in a home, and that's super super important to make sure that that imprinting is ongoing. But also, the training doesn't stop whenever we receive the canine, and I think that's where a lot of people mess up in this industry, is that if you get lackadaisical or busy in your life, and we use food driven dogs, if you continue to just feed them normally, then they lose the drive to make sure that they're hunting after mold, and that's really what is rewarding for the canine. So if they lose that drive over time, then accuracy of the canine progressively gets worse and worse and worse. So that was something that we were trying to combat whenever we first started, after interviewing other companies and stuff that were doing the same. We wanted to be the most accurate in the industry. So whenever we were outfitting our facility, we did so many different things to simulate a home environment and different environments that the canine would be testing in, from setting up like cinder block and drywall areas in the office to simulate like a home environment and to be able to hide samples. We're constantly getting live mold samples from mold remediation companies on jobs that they're doing, which is really, really great for us. We'll hide samples for the canines. We have different training capacities and tools, like baseboards on hinges where we can hide mold samples and stuff in these. We just want to simulate like a living environment as much as possible to make sure that whenever we are doing the training, if we know where the sample is, then we can accurately test the accuracy of the canine, and not just leave it up to the winds and just hope that she's being accurate. So we're very, very intentional about maintaining that accuracy, and that goes into the 2 to 3 hours of training per day of the canine that we're really, really dead set on. And I think it's helped a lot of our clients get the most accurate mold testing and mold inspection as possible from us, so they can go back to really getting healthy again, is the end goal for this service.
So if someone's in the position where they think they've got mold in their home, that they're convinced they need to book a mold inspection, what do they do? I guess first question, where do you guys serve right now?
Sure. We've done a lot of work in Kentucky and also all of the surrounding states. So that is where we're based, is in central Kentucky. We have had multiple clients reach out to us and offer to pay for our travel fees and different things like that to travel out. So I would say we're not necessarily limited to any geographical location in the continuous like 48 states. We're open to traveling based on the situation to help anybody, just as long as it's feasible for us and our schedule. I would say the majority of people that we've been helping is in central Kentucky and the surrounding states. But our goal, and hence why we branded the company this way, like Mold Dog Network, with our logo and stuff being the United States and different things like that. I think our goal is to place a canine and a handler team in all 48 states and possibly abroad, because we've just seen the effects of this service so helpful to clients, and had so many success stories of clients getting healthy again and avoiding multiple rounds of remediation, that we really truly believe in our hearts that it's the best way for the industry to move forward. So our goal is to place handlers where we can service anybody that is in need, across that service area.
Well, thank you so much for your time. That's been so interesting. I'm sure we'll speak again soon. You have a great day, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks, Scott.